For a little over a month now, I've been testing a new solar charge controller and battery type for my solar system to see how well they will perform. So far, everything currently powered by my solar setup appears to be working correctly, so I figured it was time to remove my temporary container and wiring and finalize my new setup. If you're curious to see what upgrades I made, stay tuned, and I will also be sharing an easy to follow diagram for how my current solar system is wired in case any of you are interested. Anyway, enough talking, let's get started. So before getting started, I disconnected my solar panels from the system and cut off all my breakers for safety reasons. I figured I would start off by working on cleaning up my solar charge controller box first and shorten some of the temporary wires I had installed while testing. So while the cleanup is going on, let's talk a bit more about why I chose to upgrade to this Victron solar charge controller. And in case anyone is wondering, no, this video is not sponsored. I purchased everything we'll be taking a look at. So anyway, previously I was using a really old PWM charge controller, which worked well, but since I changed my battery type for this upgrade to a lithium iron phosphate battery, which we'll talk more about later, I needed a solar charge controller that had the capability to properly charge the new battery. Unlike my previous PWM controller, this is a MPPT charge controller, which will basically allow me to convert more solar power into usable electricity. This controller has many other benefits as well that we could probably make a whole video about, but overall, it's a great solid pick for a small system like this. So if you want to learn more about it, I'll leave a link in the description. Now, if you haven't been following my solar journey for this area, I used to have a 12 volt 35 amp hour battery installed in the gray tote, but after about 8 or 9 years, I believe it's been, it finally stopped holding or taking a charge. So since my new battery is larger in size than my previous battery, I decided to upgrade my tote to a bigger size that can house the smart relay components and the battery. Unfortunately though, I didn't install all my incoming cables in such a way that would make this a simple process, so it probably took me about an hour to take some notes and unhook the necessary wires so I could uninstall the old tote from the system. To save time and money, I'll probably reconnect everything the same way in the new tote since I don't plan on upgrading this system again in the near future. However, if you have the time and the room in your budget and you think you may move your battery to another location, I would highly recommend looking into connectors that allow you to easily disconnect your wiring from different parts of the system. Anyway, while I continue to disconnect and clean up everything, let's talk a bit more about this new battery I decided to go with. So it's been a while since I've been in the battery market, so to speed up my search on what's the best 12 volt battery to go with, I took a look at William Prouse's recommended list and stumbled upon a brand called Epic Batteries. A few of the highlights I liked about the battery was that it was a lithium iron phosphate battery, so it should last for quite some time. It's self-heating, so it would do great outdoors when temperatures are really low. It has Bluetooth built in, so I can wirelessly check the status of the battery with Epic's app. It has a built-in power off switch, so I can easily break the circuit to anything the battery may be connected to. It's waterproof, not that I need that, but worth pointing out. So these were just some of the features that caught my attention, and for the price, it's hard to beat. Anyway, enough about the battery, let's get back to the installation. So since I was a bit limited on time for this project, I focused most of my attention on functionality instead of cosmetics. However, I highly recommend, if you can, take some additional time pre-planning your cabling layout for future troubleshooting. Also, as I mentioned before, I'll be leaving a link in the description where you can find an easy to follow diagram that will show you how I have everything wired, since I know it's near impossible to understand what I have going on at the moment. Once the new battery tote was wired up, it was time to switch on the battery power to see how my reinstall went. After a few seconds, I started to see my smart relays power back up, which was a good sign. Since everything in the battery tote seemed to be working correctly, I turned back on the solar connection and breakers. Next, it was time to test all the smart relays to make sure all the devices powered by this solar system were still working properly. After seeing that everything was working correctly, I finalized the installation and moved on to testing the solar charge controller and battery smartphone apps. What I really like about the Victron app is how easy it is to use. With my previous charge controller, I would have to physically come out here and open up my enclosure box to see what the battery voltage was or solar input. With the Victron app, I can see the solar, battery, and load statistics, as well as solar and consumption trend data right from my phone. Now, I should state that I'm using a Bluetooth connection to connect to the Victron controller at the moment, but Victron does sell an add-on device that I can hook up so I can access this info from anywhere in the world. That may be something I'll install down the road, but for now, the built-in Bluetooth function that comes with the controller is more than enough for my needs. Anyway, let's move on to the Epic Battery smartphone app. Now, in my opinion, they too made a very user-friendly app. I like how I can quickly see the battery life left, the charge time, cycle count, amp hours, the individual cell voltage info, and much more right from my phone. Overall, I'm really excited about this solar system upgrade and can highly recommend the Victron charge controller and the Epic battery if you're in the market for either. Anyway, I think that's all for today, so if you found this video useful or think others might, be sure to hit that like button and be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on future videos. Until next time, thanks for watching.